All right, I think we're going. Welcome back to another one of these things where we're just kind of chatting about whatever comes to mind. Hope you're having a wonderful Monday. Today was my first day kind of working for myself, so that's kind of interesting. Had kind of the reverse problem that I thought I'd have of not being able to find the motivation to just start working as I had when I was working for someone else. Like if I am not on a timeline to take care of something for other people, would I actually be wanting to do the work? Turns out I care enough about the project that I'm working on to want to sort of keep working, which is a good thing to happen, a good thing to see while I was getting into this. I don't have to do too much extra motivating myself to go ahead and actually do get work done. One thing I'm noticing, or I noticed by watching back an old video, I actually do a lot of like moving around in my chair. I'm gonna try and think to not do that. Saw someone recently comment on one of my old videos and went back there and gave them a reply back. And I couldn't remember what all I had put in that video was. And I was doing a lot of like shifting and things like this, and like I have this like towel thing here that I used as like a wrist rest for because my keyboard's fairly high. Used to have a thread on it that I kept pulling. So if you ever saw me looking down in this direction, I was probably playing with a thread on a towel, and like looking at other people and how they interact with like cameras and such. They'll look away occasionally, but they'll never do what I was doing and basically just completely side profile the video. That seems a bit unprofessional. No, I wouldn't really call myself a professional in any light anyways, so maybe it's okay that I do that kind of thing. Anywho, yes, today was a bit of a day. I don't want to like turn this into me doing a daily stand-up for anybody who comes across this channel, but did do a fair bit of design, reaching out to people, basically just building a network of people that I can talk to about this project that might eventually become customers of this thing. So that was kind of neat, starting that. Then moving a bunch of my stuff that's in a notebook to be in a digital format, organizing a bunch, starting doing all my learning and things. And honestly, like when I was thinking about this, because I gave myself the last 4 days, my last day at where I was working previously was Wednesday, March 31st, last day of March. And I was like, am I really going to be able to take these 4 days off? Because I wanted to give myself just like a little bit of breathing room and not think about all of the work that I will be doing for probably a significant amount of time to get this thing rolling. And I ended up doing something that helped me out a little bit. And that's what I kind of want to talk about today. So when thinking about doing work for yourself or trying to keep the kinds of work that you're doing organized, I was trying to think of like how do I want to like split out my day. There are a number of things that I want to do that I know I need to do in order for this thing to be successful, and I kept like splitting it up into different chunks of things. It's just like, how about task level? And I started using Trello and just writing out tasks for me to do and labeling them accordingly and giving myself due dates and things like that. And that certainly helps me feel like I'm making progress, that I was able to move 4 tasks to a done state today. That feels good. The reaching out and contacting people, migrating some documents, and then doing a bit of research on where I could be learning about other things that I need to sort of skill up to be able to do the things I want to do without hiring other people. And like that, it does help for like tracking general progress, but it doesn't really help me with my time management that I felt. And I'd started grouping work into like functional like business categories as well. So things like actually building the thing, technology or development, any assets that I need for marketing, anything that I would need from like tracking people that I'm talking to from a customer perspective to a prospective customer perspective, and just a number of like all those kind of traditional things: your sales, customer success and support, development, marketing, and product management. And that was helpful, at least for organizing like a bunch of directories. So I'm able to put documents in a like their own kind of place on my computer, which is helpful. I just did an adjustment thing on the chair again, just being very cognizant of it now. So it was helpful too, but not the right kind of help that I was looking for. And what I ended up doing was making a bit of like a cloud diagram, not really a diagram, just writing down like tasks that I needed to do and drawing arrows between all of them, just to see how they were related to each other. Like if I'm looking here, just like contacting people who I might want to work with, asking for getting better access to data, convincing people to become customers, just drumming up support, basically, creating data structures I need and developing the applications that I need to develop, figuring out costs and investigating grant options and figuring out how to write and submit those proposals. Just a lot of things for refining features and connecting with other leaders in the space from an education standpoint. There's a lot of stuff on this list, but it was writing those down and externalizing what these things are so they're out of my brain that I was able to start seeing that there's a trend in a few of these things. Like, yes, they are related to those core business functions that I'm used to working with or interfacing with in a corporate hierarchy, but I'm not thinking about it in that way for some reason, just because I can't just throw it over the wall at another group that will take care of it for me. I need to do that stuff too. So it isn't particularly helpful for me to organize time in that way because I have to do it all anyways. I can't just foist it off to somebody else. I need to do that. I need to manage it in a way that makes sense for me. And I found what helped me figure out those core pieces of what I was needing to do was to split it up into 4 categories. So not related to business function, not related to task level things, but related to what they're doing to help me make this thing a reality. And when I was thinking about what it takes to get a project off the ground, I ended up identifying, like I said, 4 things. And won't be going through them in any way. That's like, you have to stick around to the end. But communicating, learning, making, did I say making? Yes. And organizing. So communicating is just any task that's related to reaching out to people, getting information, or conveying something about what I'm building to other people. Anything where I'm putting together a document that isn't intended for me, that's intended for somebody else, or for me to convey something to somebody else would fall in this category. Anything from technical documentation, writing pitches, or doing grant proposals, or working with customers, talking with people, setting up calls. All of that stuff is communication, even if it can be in a bunch of other departments. That doesn't matter too much to me right now because I am all of the departments. So communicating was one of them. I knew I'd be doing a fair bit of that, and I'll probably be doing a decent chunk of that toward the beginning of this project, but I don't know, maybe that's one that'll stay kind of consistent throughout. Learning is one that I find pretty important. I've always found it important working even for other people. Is you're never going to have all the skills that you need when you start working on something. So allocating time to learn about how to attain the skills that you need to succeed at something is pretty important. Not recognizing that you don't have all of the skills at that front door is a bit of a problem. So allocating time for me to learn how to do things. And that's even beyond just hard skills, but just doing research. So if I need to go out there and find out kind of like, I'm not the only person who's thinking about this. I'm not the only person who's ever thought about doing something like this. I just have a unique perspective, a right set of skills, and a passion to get it done. So the kind of market research for going out there and seeing what other people are doing is still very valid. And the things that I know I want to do, I need to work on, like figuring out how to put together, like doing grant writing and mobile development, and not directly related to actually building the project that I'm working on, but video editing, because I want to get better at this kind of thing, not just talking, but ending up taking these videos and or taking this input and or output from this and then using what's there to make something better than just the raw footage. I want to do that for a few of the things that I'm working with on Prismatic Planet otherwise. So I'm treating that as something for this business, since the business, while the project I'm working on is the reason that I started it as a business, there are other things that I might want to do to either generate income or build an audience or a rapport. Then probably the biggest part for me, just because this is the thing that I'm used to doing already, is making. And this has anything to do with making something of value. So this isn't reaching out for contact's sake or communicating or conveyance sake. This is actually building the thing. Basically, what you're doing something with the skills that you learn from learning. Learn from the learning category. And that's, let me see, what did I got here? Making site content, putting together scripts or editing videos, actually making the project, and any kind of architecture or design. I was actually honestly a little not sure whether to put that in communication or not, but I still feel like creating the blueprint for what you want to make is a very important step in making. Like, you don't want to just jump in there and just hope that something that looks like what's in your head gets created on the other side. It's probably not great practice. So arguably, I'm kind of making something to communicate with myself so that I never lose track or lose focus on what's important with the thing that I'm making. But I still think it's situated fairly well in that making category. I could use that to talk with other people. It's likely internal. Right now, it's mostly for me. And the reason that I'm doing it is so that making other things becomes easier later. And the final one, which is, it doesn't take up a lot of time, but it's time that you should be cognizant of, is organizing. And that's really just like kind of any of the note taking that I'm doing, organizing the stuff on my computer, like I said, working with Trello, making sure my notes and contact information and all that stuff is good. Not a ton of time, but it's all the little things that pop up during the day that end up sort of whittling away at the time, and recognizing that's actually that your time, you're working during that time, and acknowledging it as that is an important thing. That's the key reason that people end up like getting people like assistants or virtual assistants. It's all of that work, all of that organizing. It takes time. It takes a lot of time, or at least it builds up over time. And if you're getting to the point where you're very busy working with other people, making a lot of things, then you can't do that at some point reasonably. And right now for me, it's a small enough piece of the pie that I have to work with that I am more than happy to eat that cost. So the way that I ended up splitting it, though, and this was where the time management part comes in, it's like, okay, so I have 4 categories that make sense to me as somebody who makes things and wants to, and knows that there are other aspects of making things that I need to know about and do. That this ends up helping make actionable buckets that I can split my time up into accordingly. Easier than saying support and marketing and documentation and things like that. I have communicating, making, organizing, learning. And I decided to split it up as if I was doing an 8-hour workday, and that's not like a hard rule. I ended up setting percentages, but then my times are based on the 8-hour workday. Today happened to be an 8-hour workday, but all of them likely won't be that way. It's just needing to kind of see what works. But I think I'm splitting that as 20% communication, 20% learning, 50% making, and 10% organizing, which ends up, I'm looking off to the side because I have this stuff written down. And that ends up being 2 hours, about 2 hours, a little less than 2 hours communicating, a little less than 2 hours learning, about 4 hours making, and less than an hour in organizing. So it's really just a way of me to be like, okay, am I using my time effectively throughout the day? And this lets me at least give myself, I don't want to say hard stops, but kind of soft stops about, have I done enough of this category of working? I know there's other things I need to do, and I can't just ignore them for a really long time. So yeah, and this just is what kind of worked for me. I'm also noticing that my video seems to be dropping frames again. I'm not entirely sure why that's happening. It seems that when I do this, it just sort of magically stops after a while. I guess I can wave at you then. I'll just occasionally wave at you from here on out until I get a new graphics card or something. But apparently, whether I'm using my graphics card or my CPU, there's still something going on with this new machine. And because this is generally raw footage, I'm not planning on editing this, so I'm sorry you're going to end up seeing some dropped frames. See, I'm doing this, and it's not happening anymore. Woohoo. But that's really about where I wanted to kind of end this anyways. And kind of the takeaway is, for somebody who's sort of working, I don't want to say by yourself, because you're always talking with other people and you're working on things with other people, whether you know it or not. The things that I'm learning right now, I'm learning because somebody else put resources out there for me to learn from. I have to communicate with other people in order to communicate. The only real thing that's on my own right now is the making and learning part, or making and organizing rather. But it really is just a matter of finding what works for you. For me, the traditional, like just saying, here are the tasks I want to do. It's like, cool, but am I like focusing on one kind of task too much? Am I like diversifying too much? Am I just getting so little of everything done that I'm not making great progress in any one of these things? And the traditional like business structure, company structure type organization didn't really work for me either. So finding basically verbs that I could fit my tasks into conceptually, and they all fit. So it seems to work okay for the kind of work that I'm doing, or at least how I think of work. So feel free to go ahead and use that if it helps you organize your thoughts and your tasks a little better in your mind. Just remember those. I don't know if I actually put them together in any kind of order that it makes a decent acronym. I don't think it does. The best one, it looks like CLOM. Communications, learning, organizing, making. I don't know. Let me see here. Molk maybe? No, I don't think any of this is working. I can't backronym this one. For those who don't know, backronym. Starting with an acronym that doesn't have a meaning and then giving it one. You're welcome. For anybody who wants to use backronym in the real world. Anyway, but things to keep in mind. There's some options to try, and if they don't work, that's okay. Everybody thinks a bit different, and it turns out that I didn't think in the way that other people did, so I made my own system. And maybe the system will help other people who stumble upon this video. But I think that's it for today. Hope you're having a wonderful Monday, and we'll catch you in the next one. See ya.